John O'Keefe was murdered, no question.
Did you kill John O'Keefe?
A Boston police officer. A brutal winter night. A body found in the snow. The story of John O'Keefe is more than just a tragic death. It's a case full of mystery, shocking twists, and a question that still haunts everyone. Did Karen Reed, the woman who claimed to love him, run him over and leave him to die? But was she really the one responsible? Or was the truth buried beneath the snow that night? The answers remain unclear, but one thing is certain. John O'Keefe didn't survive to tell his side of the story. Until now.
I never thought my life would end like this. One moment, I was surrounded by friends, and the next, I was left in the cold. My name is John O'Keefe, and this is how I died. I was a Boston police officer, a man who dedicated his life to protecting others. I spent years patrolling the streets, making sure people felt safe in their homes, in their neighborhoods. I knew how dangerous the world could be. But I never imagined that danger would come from someone I trusted, someone I loved. At first, Karen was everything I wanted: fun, smart, and driven. We had instant chemistry, and things moved fast. We traveled together, spent weekends with friends, and imagined a future. But looking back, I wonder if I ignored the signs. She could be loving one minute and furious the next. If she felt like she wasn't in control, she lashed out. I told myself that passion was just part of who she was. But was I blind to something dangerous? Had I ignored the warning signs of what would eventually happen to me? Looking back, I wonder if the cracks had always been there, waiting to split wide open. There were arguments, just like in any relationship. But the fights we had, they were different. Karen could be loving one minute and furious the next. If she felt like she wasn't in control, she lashed out. I never thought much of it at the time. I told myself that passion was just part of who she was. But now, I have to ask myself, did I ignore the warning signs? At first, Karen was everything I wanted: fun, smart, and driven. We had instant chemistry, and things moved fast. We traveled together, spent weekends with friends, and imagined a future. But looking back, I wonder if I ignored the signs. She could be loving one minute and furious the next. If she felt like she wasn't in control, she lashed out. I told myself that passion was just part of who she was. But was I blind to something dangerous? Had I ignored the warning signs of what would eventually happen to me? Karen and I had been drinking at C.F. McCarthy's, a small bar in Canton. I remember how packed it was, how the warmth of bodies pressed together made the place feel smaller than it really was. We weren't alone. Other officers were there, friends, people I trusted. From there, we moved to another bar, Waterfall Bar and Grill. More drinks, more conversations. Karen was drinking, but so was everyone else. It wasn't unusual, but there was tension that night, something unspoken hanging between us. It wasn't the first time we'd had a disagreement after drinking. I remember the way her voice changed when she was upset. Sharp, cutting, like a blade disguised as words. But I didn't think much of it. We were out with friends. Whatever was bothering her, I figured we'd deal with it later. Then the invitation came. Brian Albert, a fellow officer, invited us back to his house for an after-party. It was already late, past midnight, but the night wasn't over yet. I decided to go. Karen, though, wasn't feeling well. Maybe it was the drinks catching up with her. Maybe it was the tension that had been simmering between us all night. She said she was going home. That was the last time I saw her. What happened next is a blur of conflicting stories, missing pieces, and evidence that doesn't add up. But here's what I know for sure. Karen left. I stayed. And somehow, I never made it out of that house alive. The next morning, my body was found outside in the snow. The bitter cold had settled into my skin, my clothes stiff with frost. I had bruises, cuts, injuries that told a story of violence. But the question remained, who put me there? Karen Red woke up the next morning expecting to see me at home. But I wasn't there. I hadn't answered my phone. I hadn't sent a text. And that's when the panic set in. She began calling friends, desperately trying to piece together what had happened after she left the party. No one had answers. She drove back to Brian Albert's house, the last place she knew I had been. Snow covered the ground, the cold morning air biting against her skin. And then she saw something. A dark figure barely visible in the white surroundings. Mr. Lying still, my body frozen in place. She ran to me, frantically tried CPR, screamed for help, but I was already gone. My skin was ice cold, my clothes stiff from the freezing temperatures. When first responders arrived, they declared what she already knew. I was dead. But the real question was, how did I end up here? And was my death truly an accident, or something far worse? Panic. Screams. She ran to me, tried to perform CPR, but it was too late. My body had already gone cold. The police arrived, the crime scene was secured. And then, the questions began. The police started with the most obvious explanation, a tragic accident, a reckless mistake. But the evidence didn't add up. The cuts on my arms, the bruises on my face, the way my body was positioned. None of it matched a typical hit and run. And then there was the shattered taillight, the small pieces of red plastic found near me. It should have been the smoking gun, proof that Karen's SUV struck me. But was it really from that night? Or had it been placed there after the fact? But nothing about my injuries made sense. I had cuts on my arms, my face, bruises in places that wouldn't match being hit by a car. My body looked like it had been through more than just a collision. And then there was the tail light, the shattered red glass found near my body. Was it proof that she backed into me? Or was it planted? The moment of her arrest was a media spectacle. Reporters swarmed the courthouse, cameras flashing as Karen walked inside, hands trembling. Prosecutors wasted no time building their case. They painted her as a jealous, reckless woman who lost control that night. Witnesses took the stand, forensic experts dissected the evidence, and the jury listened to every detail. The case against her built quickly, but so did the questions. Because some people didn't believe she did it. The defense argued that I wasn't hit by a car at all, that I had been inside the house, attacked, beaten, and then left outside in the freezing cold, that Karen was being framed, set up to take the fall. And if that was true, who was protecting the real killers? The case became a storm of controversy. The prosecution painted Karen as an angry, jealous woman who snapped. The defense claimed the real crime was being covered up by corrupt officers protecting their own. And the worst part, I wasn't there to defend myself, to say what really happened. But this much is clear. That night I was left outside, in the freezing cold, my body shutting down as the temperature dropped, my heartbeat slowing, my vision fading. And then it all became dark. I was found lying in the snow, unresponsive, outside Brian Albert's house. The cold had already taken its toll, and my body was quickly transported to the hospital. The medical team worked tirelessly, but it was too late. I was pronounced dead upon arrival. The official cause of death was listed as blunt force trauma and hypothermia. An autopsy was performed to determine the exact nature of my injuries. The medical examiner noted multiple abrasions and lacerations on my body, particularly on my right arm and face. These injuries were consistent with blunt force trauma. Additionally, the prolonged exposure to the freezing temperatures had led to hypothermia, which further contributed to my death. As the investigation progressed, attention turned to Karen Red, my girlfriend. She was arrested and charged with second-degree murder, vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated, and leaving the scene of a collision causing death. The prosecution alleged that after a night of drinking, Karen had reversed her SUV into me, causing the injuries that led to my death. The trial began in April 2024 and lasted over 2 months. The prosecution presented evidence including witness testimonies and forensic analyses. They argued that Karen's actions were reckless and directly resulted in my death. However, the defense contended that there was insufficient evidence to prove that Karen had intentionally harmed me. They suggested alternative scenarios and questioned the credibility of the prosecution's witnesses. For weeks, my family sat in that courtroom, waiting. Every day, they relived my death. Every day, they listened to lawyers argue over what really happened. And then, after all of it, nothing. No justice, no verdict, just a deadlocked jury. Now, they have to go through it all again. The retrial looms, and with it, the possibility that this case will never truly be resolved. The case remains unresolved, with a retrial scheduled for January 2025. Karen maintains her innocence, and the truth of what happened that night is still a matter of debate. In the months following the mistrial, the atmosphere was thick with tension and anticipation. Legal teams on both sides were acutely aware that the stakes had never been higher. Or the prosecution. The challenge lay in fortifying their case, addressing the gaps and uncertainties that had previously led to a deadlocked jury. Hay meticulously re-examined every piece of evidence, re-interviewed witnesses, and sought to exclude certain defense testimonies they deemed inadmissible. Notably, they aimed to prevent the defense from presenting expert witnesses whose testimonies had previously cast doubt on their narrative. His included specialists in areas such as forensic analysis and accident reconstruction, whose insights had been pivotal in challenging the prosecution's assertions. On the other hand, the defense was equally diligent, if not more so. They recognized the importance of refining their strategy, ensuring that their arguments were not only compelling, but also irrefutable. His involved a comprehensive review of the evidence, seeking out new expert opinions and bolstering their narrative that Karen was innocent. Hay contended that the injuries I sustained were inconsistent with being struck by a vehicle, suggesting instead that I had been assaulted inside the house and subsequently left outside in the freezing conditions. To support this theory, they delved deeper into forensic evidence, looking for any inconsistencies or overlooked details that could substantiate their claims. As the retrial date approached, the courtroom became a battleground of legal wits. Every motion filed, every piece of evidence submitted, and every witness called had the potential to tip the scales of justice. Media coverage intensified, with public opinion divided and debates raging across various platforms. The narrative was no longer just about the tragic death of a police officer. It had evolved into a broader discourse on the justice system, the nature of evidence, and the quest for truth. Throughout this period, my family remained steadfast, attending every hearing, listening intently to every argument, and holding on to the hope that the truth would finally emerge. Their resilience was a testament to their love and their unwavering commitment to seeking justice on my behalf. The emotional toll was undeniable, but their determination never wavered. Aaron, too, faced the relentless scrutiny of the public eye. Every aspect of her life was dissected, her actions and motives questioned. The pressure was immense, but she maintained her innocence, asserting that she had been wrongfully accused. Her legal team worked tirelessly to clear her name, navigating the complexities of the legal system and the court of public opinion. As the retrial commenced, the courtroom was filled with a palpable sense of gravity. The proceedings were meticulous, with both sides presenting their cases with renewed vigor. Expert witnesses were called to the stand, forensic evidence was analyzed in painstaking detail, and the events of that fateful night were reconstructed piece by piece. The jury listened intently, aware of the weight of their responsibility. And the end, the retrial, was not just about determining guilt or innocence. It was about seeking the truth, honoring the memory of a life lost, and striving for justice in its truest sense. The outcome, whatever it may be, would have profound implications for all involved, leaving an indelible mark on their lives and the broader community. As the retrial looms, the weight of the unknown hangs over everyone involved. My family, who has already suffered the unthinkable, is once again forced to relive my final moments, to sit in a courtroom and listen to strangers debate whether my death was a tragic accident or something far worse. They don't get to grieve in peace. They don't get to move forward. Instead, they are trapped in this never-ending nightmare, waiting for answers that may never come. And then there's Karen. She says she's innocent. She says she's been framed. But if she didn't kill me, then who did? If the justice system failed me, what does that mean for others? How many families are sitting in courtrooms just like this one, hoping, begging for the truth to finally come out? The truth. That's what this should be about, isn't it? Not courtroom theatrics, not politics, not public opinion, just the truth. And yet, the more this case unfolds, the harder it seems to find. The evidence is debated, the experts disagree, the witnesses contradict one another. And in the middle of it all, my name has become a headline instead of a person, a case instead of a life. But I was real. I lived. I laughed. I loved. I was a son, a brother, a friend. I was a police officer who swore to protect others, but in the end, I couldn't even protect myself. I deserved better. I deserved justice, and I still do. The truth is out there, but will we ever really know it? Did Karen Reed kill me, or is she taking the fall for someone else? Is the shattered taillight the key to solving my murder, or a distraction from what really happened? This case is bigger than me. It's bigger than one night. It's about justice, corruption, and the truth that too many families never get to hear. So I ask you, what do you believe? Should Karen Reed be in prison? Or is someone else responsible for my death? I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think happened that night, because the world is watching. And maybe, just maybe, the truth is out there, waiting to be uncovered. My name is John O'Keefe. I should still be here.